Plummer has CDs. Just go talk to her. I heard someplace, oh, I read so much, but I read that if you listen to great music, it releases endorphins. Good music releases endorphins. So that's an endorphin releaser, let me tell you. So just like any wonderful day at the Center for Spiritual Living, we have a Pentecostal song followed by a thesis on the Bhagavad Gita. So there we go. Ernest Holmes said that we're inspired, and actually we're a synthesis of a lot of things, but one of them is the discoveries of religion, the revelations of religion, what's revealed in a religion. But before I go there, I want to just do a quote that supports our theme for the month, which is oneness. This is from Einstein. It was in a letter that he wrote to a friend. A human is a part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. Each human experiences himself and his thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. The striving to free oneself from this delusion is the real purpose of every true religion. So we think we're separate. That is what I would call the original sin, this idea that we're separate from God, separate from others, that we're all alone, that we're isolated, that we can be a world in of ourselves. It's an optical delusion. And the healing happens when we realize that we're part of something bigger, and that bigger wants to support us. Actually, in Hinduism, that bigger is called Vishnu, which leads me to, I guess, the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, actually, I have a pop quiz for you. You don't have to know the answer, but you will be tested as you leave. What does Martin Luther King, Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela have in common? They were all students of the Bhagavad Gita. All students of the Bhagavad Gita. It is Hindu's most read book, even more so than the Ramayana. Both of them shape Hinduism. There is not anyone in any Hindu village that does not know the story of the Ramayana and probably acts it out at least once a year together as a tribe, or the story of the Bhagavad Gita. It has been honored throughout history by those people who want to think deeply into things. And it was a favorite book of the Transcendentalists, which included Thoreau and Emerson. In fact, when Thoreau took himself away to sit on the shores of Walden Pond for 2.5 years, two books he took were the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. And out of that came his philosophy, which shaped Transcendentalism. And his philosophy of being true to yourself was an influence to Gandhi, Mandela, and King. So, wow, this book's important. Now, why talk about it? We have great books. I could say the very same thing by quoting Ernest Holmes. In fact, actually doing this talk, I felt like I was doing a Beyond Limits primer. But it's got some great spiritual technology in it, and universal wisdom is good to hear from different points of view. Sometimes it gets in if it's a different point of view. It's all stuff you know, and yet when it comes from a different point of view, it's easier to take in. It's sort of like children listening to people besides their parents. Or companies hiring consultants to say what the bosses have been saying for years, but no one would listen until somebody with authority came in and said it. So some of you know this stuff. It will not be new, but since Krishna said it, and I'm going to quote Krishna like crazy, then it's like, whoa, yeah, I get it, hopefully. Let's get it, hopefully. So just a little bit about this thing called the Bhagavad Gita. A synopsis is this is a dialogue between Arjuna, who is a warrior prince about to go into battle against those people that he knows and loves. Actually, it's set up, there's like wars used to happen there's a valley, that's where we'll have the battle, and the armies are up against the hillsides on both sides. And Arjuna, who is the leader of one of the armies, rides into the field, about to call his own warriors down, and he just gets off and he says, I can't do it, I just don't want to do it. I'm supposed to do it, I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. Just so happens that his charioteer, who sings, why people didn't get that he might be different, because he was blue. But anyway. Oh, I could have had a god. Anyway. Krishna is his charioteer, and Krishna has to talk him back to himself. So it's a dialogue. The whole thing is a dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna. And out of that dialogue comes the answers to things that all of us have to deal with at some time or another. For instance, how many of us have been faced with difficult decisions when we don't know what to do? God, I love you. Really, the rest of you just have never had that problem? Really, how many of you have ever been faced with it? It's like, I can't decide. It's just too hard. And also, it addresses the deep question of what is mine to do. That's what I love about Hinduism. In the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana, they're about doing. We're all about being. Well, I'm just about being. It's just who I be. I'm just going to be this. And they're saying, well, get your little being into action. Meaning, do something. Hinduism is about doing. What do you do from that be? Get your little be in movement. And could have said something else. But it really is what it's about. And that doing is called Dharma. It all comes down to Dharma. Now, Dharma can be defined. It is the biggest word. Google it. It's all over the map. And also, not only huge because it has so many meanings, it has meanings between different philosophies and religion. So for those of you that have a Buddhist background, in Buddhism, Dharma is cosmic law. It is the law of cause and effect. So Buddha would say, I take my refuge in the Buddha. I love it. We call him the Buddha. That's not his name. He just happened to experience the presence. He said, I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma, the law. I take refuge in the presence of my divinity, my eternal nature. I take refuge in the law of cause and effect through which that nature acts. And I take refuge in the Sangha, which is spiritual community. And I think if we were going to get anything from Buddhism, it would be to have more of a spiritual community. Maybe it's because I am a rugged individualist. I'd really rather do everything by myself, and especially my spiritual practice. Leave me alone. Because on my couch, with the sun coming in and the right music, I'm in another zone. But then y'all show up. But here's the deal. What I know and what spiritual practices have told over and over and over again is if you want to evolve, you evolve faster, quicker, and easier in the presence of others. It's just the way it is. You evolve faster, quicker, and easier in the presence of others. And we're just evolving. We are growing into ourselves, growing into what we were created to be. And we do that better, faster, quicker, easier in the presence of others. It's the Sangha. And what I also noticed is that Buddha and Jesus seem to have a posse. So why wouldn't we have a posse? Why wouldn't we have a support group? Why wouldn't we have others that we can lean into? All right, to the Sikhs, which is an well, they wouldn't call themselves this, but let's just say the Sikhs, Dharma is the path of righteousness. When you're doing the right thing, you are living your Dharma. In Hinduism, it's sort of that. It's your duty, or the way you live in such a way that supports the cosmic order of things. So in the Ramayana, it's all about Dharma. I love that story. I want to do a class on it, or it's just so rich in its teachings. This supports our idea of oneness, which is our theme for this month, because it says that we're all in this together, but I can't do your work, you can't do my work, but if I do my thing in such a way that I am living my Dharma, everybody is blessed and benefits. That's the idea of Hindu Dharma. I do what I'm supposed to do, everyone benefits, because I'm supporting the cosmic order of things. So much could be written about the Bhagavad Gita. My wonderful friend, Edward Valhun, has written a book on the Bhagavad Gita. He takes a totally different emphasis. I'm going to do my emphasis, which is the 4 things that Krishna told Arjuna to do to get over himself. Get over yourself. Now do these things. This is what's important. You're going to have to get back in that chariot. But before you get in that chariot, I'm going to tell you 4 things. The first one is look for, find, develop, celebrate your own Dharma. This is the hardest thing that I will have to say. So I speak my word that the Holy Spirit is now working in, through, and as my word, so that people here in this room may find and celebrate that which is uniquely theirs, so that we can live on purpose. And so it is. To find your gift and let it shine. And we all have a gift. We were all born uniquely capable of doing something that is ours to contribute to the greater scheme of things. That's your Dharma. Dharma in this context means your true nature. You're to find your true nature and develop that true nature. So ask yourself things like, what did you gravitate to as a child? Isn't it interesting that Stephan used an example? She gravitated to churches and to playing music. She's living her Dharma. Alinda Page was in first service, and I said, Alinda can't go anywhere without trying to beautify it. I mean, really, if she came to my house, she'd be shuffling things. She said the hardest thing for her to do as a practitioner here is to go into the room that they now do prayers in, because it's not pretty. I mean, she just has to beautify. What is it you have to do? What do you do so naturally that you take it for granted? You don't even celebrate it. It's just what you do. Min was here first service. And I said, Min, would it be possible for you to not want to nurture something? No. For her to not nurture, she couldn't do it. To find that thing, to celebrate that thing, is your Dharma. It could be called a purpose, but to living on purpose is the revelation of your gift. And your gift is always there. So if anyone here is thinking, I don't have a gift, I'm just normal, I don't have a gift. You do have a gift. Because God don't make no junk. It only makes gifts. And as Krishna said, I'm going to quote Krishna a lot. Krishna said, fire cannot burn that gift. Nothing can destroy that gift. But you cannot feed that gift and it will go down to a small ember, but you cannot put it out. It's always there, ready to be fanned into a great flame. He also said, it is better to fail at your own Dharma than to succeed at someone else's. And I don't know about you, but some people have. Some people have become parents when they didn't want to. Some people have become a thing that their mother or father told them to do or society told them to do. Society does set things up. We have special, particular employment that's good. You go into that. A lot of people are going into colleges now because we are not expressing the elevated esteem of what used to be called the trades. What's going to happen when we don't have truck drivers and plumbers? I don't want to know. But we elevate one thing instead of another. And some people love to make things work with their hands, see how it flows. Literally, when you're a plumber. Anyway, I mean, there's so much going on. But we have to listen to what's mine. What do I do? What is natural for me? What's natural for me is humor. And I need to express that humor, and I expressed that humor when I was in sales, and I do it as a minister. If I became a serious minister, I can't even imagine. That would be like men not being a nurturer. More on this. If it's Krishna agrees with the gospel according to Thomas when Jesus said, if you bring forth that which is inside of you, that which is inside of you will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is inside of you, it will destroy you. What does it destroy? When we don't live our gift, when we don't celebrate our gift, when we don't celebrate our uniqueness and what's our particular beautiful expression of life, we lose our energy, we lose the light in our eyes, we lose our faith, and we lose our hope. And that's people you've seen. Hopefully not here. I've noticed that. We have some light-filled eyes. But years ago, I was amazed at how many people would come here and there was no light in their eyes. And that's why at the other property we had hope, faith, celebration. How do you discover this gift? The first step is to assume you are on purpose and that the way you are fits uniquely into the grand scheme of things. And honor that. How you are is unique and perfect, and to celebrate that. Thoreau, going back to Thoreau, who studied the Bhagavad Gita, he was doing that while he was at Walden Pond. He knew he was a poet, but he tried to be a poet like other poets. And at a young age, at the age of 24, he went to New York, and that's where all the writers were. And he tried to hang out with the writers, and he tried to be, kind of the way they were doing it, and it just didn't work. He realized that he really was, as he called himself, I'm a Concord boy. And he went back to the woods, and the writing started to flow. He was unique to himself. I need to write about nature and what nature says, not what other humans say. Do you see that's being unique? Finding your niche, not just as a poet, but as a way of expressing. What I love about Libby Wagner is that she went in to be a coach for businesses, but she said, I'm a poet. And she finally gave herself permission to be a poet in the boardroom. To find your niche is so important, but assume that you have it. You'll never find it if you don't assume it's there. And then you pray, Father, Mother, God within, reveal to me what is my unique gift to give as my expression of life. And then pray about it. And then do it full out. When you discover it, live it full out. Krishna said, the ignorant, indecisive, and lacking in faith waste their lives. Ooh, babies. I know. I like Krishna. Just say it as it is. So look for actions that support your Dharma and look to live your Dharma wherever you are. So luckily, I have a place to support my Dharma, which is to be insightful, energetic, and humorous. But even if I weren't up here, I need to be insightful, energetic, and humorous wherever I am. So it's like, look for a way to support your Dharma and do your Dharma anyway. Whatever it is, you do it full out. In the process of living from your uniqueness, energy is gathered and you will feel more alive. Apply your gifts to whatever is in front of you and make the world a better place. So Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you were a warrior. You were born a warrior, born a prince. Guess what? This is your job. This is your Dharma. You got to do it. I don't want to do it. You got to do it. Well, you don't have to do it. You can be in hell. Isn't it hell when you're not living your true self? So Dolly Parton, quoting Robert Frost, because I think it's so much more fun to just imagine Dolly Parton saying this, but she's actually quoting Robert Frost, which doesn't excite me at all. Dolly Parton said, "Find out who you are and do it on purpose." So we discover our Dharma, we do it full out, and then this is the important part, because Arjuna said, "But I can't go into battle. If I go into battle, I may kill someone that is my family or my friend." And Krishna says, you have to let go of the fruits of your actions. You do what you're supposed to do. You are not to determine how it turns out. Arjuna then goes into a whole thing about letting go of the outcome, because having to cling to an outcome has a negative effect on performance. How many of you know that? We know. See, I'm not telling you anything new. You're just getting to hear it a different time and a different way by a different person. And do I look blue? I should have worn blue. Oh, I could have been the Blue Minister group. Anyway, see? Gotta keep you awake. This is incredibly important for parents, teachers, bosses, business owners, ministers, and someday, hopefully, politicians. To do what they do without getting attached to the outcome. Because what he said, this is quoting Krishna, attachment breeds desire, desire breeds a lust for outcome, and burns into anger. Have you seen anger lately? Anger clouds judgment, which keeps us from learning from our mistakes. And anger lets us lose the power to choose between wise and unwise, and our life is an utter waste. I'll tell you, Krishna is like zingers. The antidote to this, we all know, if you're not attached, is detachment. Krishna says, seek refuge in detachment, and you will amass a wealth of spiritual awareness. Now, this is very important. I almost want to do a Beyond Limits advertisement here, because this is so beyond limits. And if you haven't taken it, take it. If you have taken it, take it again. Because this is at the heart of what we teach, which is to be totally involved and participating in what you're doing without attachment. There is magic. How many of you remember the sit-down exercise? Oh, that sweet spot where it was like effortless to get somebody to do something, because you were totally involved without attachment and everything happened. It is so beautiful. So we let go of attachment. And then Krishna says, but how will I make the right thing happen? He says, if you're not attached, you have to let God do the work. What's that sound like? I mean, doesn't this sound like what we teach? Maybe that is true, that this is just ancient wisdom that we should all be living because it shows up everywhere. Shows up everywhere. The fourth thing that Krishna says to Arjuna is, then turn it over to God. Or actually what he said is, turn it over to me. Because he was an incarnation of Vishnu, which is the sustaining aspect of the divine. Turn it over to me. Let universal order do the work. There's a song like that, isn't there? And the outcome will be better than you could have imagined. Our work is to remember who we are and to discover our uniqueness and to bring that fully into the world by being ourselves, and then let all of our actions be blessed by a universal power that's greater than ourselves, that will do things greater than we can do. That's so much easier said than done. Which is why that last step in this thing that we call spiritual mind treatment or scientific prayer is so hard, which is to let it go, release it. It's like, but I want it. God, I want it. No, I want it. I really said I want it. want it. God. So for anyone who's had that experience, Krishna read Arjuna's mind because Arjuna said, I don't know how to give this up. Krishna read his mind and he said, do it this way. Turn your mind over and keep it stayed on me. Krishna said, keep your mind stayed on me, which sounds a whole lot like stayed on Jesus, right? Or stayed on anything. So I want to finish with an example of that and how this whole process changed the history of a huge subcontinent. Gandhi was a scaredy cat. By his own admission, he was afraid of everything. He was afraid of spiders, snakes, other people, the dark, ghosts. He was afraid to be alone until he reached junior high. And he always slept with the light on. Because he was afraid, and he was afraid to stick up for himself, he was bullied mercilessly. Because young people know who's susceptible, and he was susceptible. Finally, when he was getting about junior high age, about 12 or 13, his nanny finally, so tired of him coming home either beat up or browbeaten, said, you've got to change, you've got to do something. I'm going to give you a magic word. And he said, what's that? And she said, it's the name of God. You're going to say Rama. I want you to just fill up with Rama. I want Rama, Rama, Rama. He was so desperate. I love it that people, when they're really desperate, they'll do anything. Because the rest of us know better. Humor. So he started to repeat. He was desperate. So he'd say Rama, 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 which is the name of Vishnu in another incarnation. Rama, 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 Rama. And pretty soon he was less afraid. Rama, 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 Rama. He was less afraid, less bothered. He didn't care if people called him names, and he stood up to bullies. He changed. He not only stood up to bullies, he started to stand up to governments. He shifted the way that Native Indian people were treated in South Africa before he went back to India. And he stood up to the British government. And he was so filled with that capacity to stand up that he shifted the people around him. Rama, Rama, Rama directed all of his actions and his decisions. He acquired the wisdom to know what to eat so that more people would have food, and at the same time, he would have all the health and energy that he needed. He would fast for long periods of time, living on the word Rama. Rama, Rama, Rama. He was so brave that prison, the opinions of others, nothing scared him or took him from his Dharma. And he lived it in such a way that he ignited the Dharma in others. Even when he was in prison, the viceroy honored him so much that he made sure that whatever he needed to eat to maintain himself was available. And when someone shot him in the stomach, so close that he could see his eyes, what came out of his mouth isn't what would come out of my mouth if somebody shot me in the stomach, although I might change. You know, I thought about it. We're always shifting. And I have been doing the practice that he did, so who knows what would come out of my mouth now. But what came out of his mouth was J, which means praise. Rama. It was so a part of him. So I encourage you to find a name of the divine that fits you, that feels good to you, that suits you. It could be Holy Spirit. It could be Jehovah. It could be Allah, Allah. It could be Jesus, Krishna. And to repeat it so it becomes a mantra, so that it is the thing that you're putting your attention to. And maybe that's why Emerson, who was influenced by the Bhagavad Gita, said, what you contemplate, you will become. I know that I have 2 words now that appeal to me. And they're my personal words. They're my personal connections. My, honey bucket word for the divine. Only it's not quite that way. But anyway. Well, you don't have pet names for people? Have pet names for the divine. And what I can say is, after you guys quit laughing, I'll give you the punchline at me, is that no matter how low I go and how matter, if I start to say those words, I am lifted. They lift me. And I won't share them with you because that would be doing what Ernest Holmes told us not to do, which is to tell you what to think. You find your own words. Find your own connection. But be willing to repeat it and say it and emphasize it and make it your own. And it will be your connector. I'm disconnected, I'm separate. And I plug back in. And as I turn to God, it turns to me and something happens. So let's just take a moment. And some of you know what you would call the divine. What is your personal connection word? What reminds you, what takes you back to your beginning? What takes you back to your connection? What reminds you that there's something greater than yourself? Let that word become a mantra in your mind. Holy Spirit, beloved of the soul, remind us now of who we are. Open up the channels in each and every person in this room, that they may know and celebrate and embrace their uniqueness. Let us take that unique gift into the world in whatever we're doing, so that the universal order of things is solidified and made stronger. Let us do our part to make the world a better place. And sweet Spirit, help us to detach from outcomes, because we're truly letting the universe do its work. And so it is.